Today's episode is all about Bigfoot. More specifically, it's about something called the Ultimate Bigfoot Hunt, which is a new series on Animal Planet. But this isn't your typical Bigfoot show. See, with Animal Planet's Ultimate Bigfoot Hunt, we get to see some incredible footage of some of America's most wild and remote forests. It just so happens that these are also prime Bigfoot habitats. So as our team makes their way through these woods, they're looking for signs of not only Bigfoot, but also other creatures that call these places home. And they use everything from trail cams to listening devices to even DNA testing to see if they can find evidence of the unknown. What I love about this show is that it doesn't take a dismissive approach to Bigfoot like some shows do. Instead, it treats the possibility of Bigfoot's existence with respect. And as someone who has spent a lot of time in the woods, I appreciate the amount of research and effort that goes into each episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about a few of the most interesting locations featured in the first 2 episodes of this series. Be sure to stay until the end, because I think the last one, you will all be surprised by the most. Also, please do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. As always, 100% of my shorts are ad-free and sponsor-free because I'm funded by my supporters. This allows me to make videos like this one, without having to worry about what advertisers want. So thank you so much for that. With all that said, let's get into today's video. In the first episode, we follow a father and son duo named Cliff and Jared as they search for Bigfoot in the Angeles National Forest in Southern California. If you ever get the chance to hike in this forest, I highly recommend doing it. It's full of beautiful views and great hiking trails. In fact, the area that they're researching in this episode is known as the San Gabriel Mountains, and is actually where I did my very first overnight backpacking trip when I was in college. For those of you who have never been to this part of California, it might surprise you to know that there is a large forest just an hour or so away from downtown Los Angeles. But the truth is, if you look at a map of California, most of the state is covered in forest and mountainous terrain. It's hard to imagine that anywhere in California could be considered truly wild. But this couldn't be further from the truth. And it has places like the Angeles National Forest that remind us of just how wild California really is. One of my favorite things about this episode is that it takes place in an area that is so rarely talked about when it comes to Bigfoot. Most people probably don't even realize that there are Bigfoot sightings in Southern California, let alone that there are entire Bigfoot research organizations dedicated to the area. There's even an organization called the Southern California Bigfoot Society. They've been around since the early 70s and maintain a database of over 2,000 Bigfoot sightings in Southern California alone. I highly encourage you to check out their website if you're interested. It's also worth pointing out that the Angeles National Forest isn't just home to Bigfoot, but also a wide variety of other wildlife. In fact, during the filming of the Ultimate Bigfoot Hunt episode, the crew was able to capture mountain lion, bobcat, and even bear on camera. If you watch this show, you're probably going to see a lot of animals that are native to the areas being filmed, which is one of the things I enjoy about it so much. Speaking of animals though, let's talk about the main attraction. Is there such thing as Bigfoot? Well, personally, I don't know. The truth is, nobody knows. But there have been so many credible witnesses and so much physical evidence for Bigfoot that I refuse to believe that it is all just a hoax. There are too many people who have seen too many things that can't all be explained away with a simple wave of the hand. The fact is, we simply don't know what's out there. There are so many undiscovered and unclassified species on our planet that it is entirely possible that a large primate-like creature exists somewhere in North America. One of the most interesting pieces of evidence that I've seen for Bigfoot comes from an unexpected source, National Geographic. You probably know them as the folks behind the Geographic Atlas and the Geographic Channel. But did you know that they also publish a magazine? It is called National Geographic, and it covers a wide variety of topics from science and nature to history and culture. I read this magazine often, and they published a very interesting article about Bigfoot back in 2017. In it, they discussed some newly declassified FBI documents that were released to the public through a Freedom of Information Act request. These documents contain information about a Bigfoot research project that the FBI was working on in the 60s. To this day, nobody knows what happened to that research or what the FBI learned during their investigation. Did they find evidence of Bigfoot? Who knows? But one thing is for sure, it would be pretty crazy if the FBI had uncovered proof of Bigfoot and then decided to cover it up. Back to the show now. In the second episode, we travel north to Washington State to follow two men named Brian and Jacob as they search for Bigfoot in the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. If you're familiar with Washington, you might be wondering why they didn't go up to the North Cascades instead. Well, there's a very good reason for this. You see, the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest is one of the largest contiguous forests on the west coast of the United States. It covers nearly 1 million acres of land and is home to a wide variety of wildlife, including black bears, elk, deer, coyotes, and wolves. But what really drew me to this forest was its proximity to Mount St. Helens. For those of you who aren't familiar with this volcano, let me catch you up. On August 18, 1980, Mount St. Helens erupted in an event that would become the deadliest and most economically damaging volcanic eruption in U.S. history. Over $500 million in property damage and 57 lives were lost during the eruption and its subsequent mudslides and avalanches. Today, it is still considered to be an active volcano, and it remains one of the most closely monitored volcanoes in the world. In recent years, it has been suggested that the increased seismic activity around Mount St. Helens could be a sign of a new eruption. But some scientists believe that these quakes are actually the result of something else entirely: Sasquatch. That's right, some believe that Sasquatch may be living on or around Mount St. Helens, causing the quakes by accident while simply walking through the forest, or maybe even intentionally to communicate with each other. While this is obviously a fringe theory, it's certainly an interesting one. And if I were a betting man, I'd say there's definitely something strange going on around that mountain. While researching this episode, I came across an article published by the Smithsonian Magazine about the possibility of Sasquatch living on or around Mount St. Helens. According to the article, there have been hundreds of Sasquatch sightings in the Mount St. Helens National Volcanic Monument, which includes the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, where the Ultimate Bigfoot Hunt episode was filmed. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence for Sasquatch in the area comes from a trail camera set up by a group of researchers from the Northwest Sasquatch Research Group. The camera captured a strange, unidentified creature moving through the forest. And while it could certainly be a bear or another large animal, it's also possible that it's Sasquatch. And hey, I'm all for keeping an open mind when it comes to these things. Ultimately, whether or not you believe in Bigfoot is up to you. I personally don't know what to believe, but I find the subject to be incredibly fascinating. And if you're anything like me, I think you'll enjoy watching Ultimate Bigfoot Hunt as much as I have. If you want to learn more about the places featured in this video, be sure to check out my travel guide series. There I take you on virtual trips to some of the most incredible places in the world, including the Angeles National Forest and the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.